All right, so today was going to be one of those days. And yesterday we had mini camp conclude, and this was supposed to be kind of the quiet time. I would envision that yesterday, as the Texans broke and we saw all the individual position groups gathering, and we saw D'Amico Ryan speaking to his team, I would imagine something along the lines of, all right, the next 40 days, get your bodies right, get your minds right, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you the 22nd, 21st, whenever they report for training camp. And that was not the case. I anticipated waking up this morning, texting Cody Stutes here on SNL, Landry Locker, Cody Stutes with you, saying, so what are we going to get into today? And unfortunately, it's very clear what we'll be talking about: the arrest of Jimmie Ward. Jimmie Ward, arrested and charged with a third-degree felony. Aaron Wilson's been on top of this, KPRC. What is the latest that you can tell us from Aaron's story that he's updating throughout the day?
Yeah, so reading from Aaron's story on Click to Houston, Jimmie Ward was arrested and charged with felony assault and family violence stemming from an altercation at his home in Magnolia. He was released earlier today on a $30,000 bail set by a magistrate. So he's arrested at 5:30 this morning. He's now been bonded out. And as you mentioned, it's a third-degree felony charge, and the victim has been granted an emergency protective order to ensure her immediate safety and provide ongoing protection for her. And the alleged victim is his fiance, who I believe Aaron said Ward has a child with. And she alleged that she was assaulted, strangled, and threatened by Ward.
Okay, so there we go with Jimmie Ward. As always, whenever we cover things like this, we respect the process. We understand that there is a part of that still needs to come to light. So yes, innocent till proven guilty does exist, but from a football perspective and from a perspective of what we do and how we cover it, there are a lot of snowball effects and things that are impacted by this. And I kind of want to start with the human element of this. And I got to think this is extra tough one for D'Amico Ryans. And I got to think, like Jimmie Ward, I'm sure when something like this happens, there's a point as you're sitting there where you kind of think about, damn, my career, all this type of stuff. Obviously there's other stuff, but you think about it. But I got to think that somewhere at the top of his mind, he's got to think, man, I'm really letting D'Amico Ryans down in this instance, because these guys have been together, and we've talked about this. And I think this is part of the reason why it's one of the main reasons Jimmie Ward was the first guy that D'Amico brought with him to Houston. It was one of the main reasons that the contract, which has been kind of a polarizing topic, and Jimmie was already kind of a polarizing figure with the fans. I think it's part of the reason it was given, because Jimmie Ward is one of D'Amico's favorites, even if he is going into his 12th season, and many people thought should not have gotten that contract, which we've talked about at length. But the dynamic between those two, starting out in San Francisco, D'Amico Ryan's coaching career, Jimmie being on that defense, multiple roles for Jimmie. D'Amico works his way up to DC, and then he brings him here, two-time captain. And there's not very many people, and this isn't the first time I've said this, there's not very many people that D'Amico Ryans has been through as much with in different roles and different venues as Jimmie Ward. So this one's got to be an extremely tough one for D'Amico Ryans, because of who it is, what went down, and everything like that. And I got to think that Jimmie Ward's got to feel like he really, really let down someone who showed more faith in him than anyone, regardless of what did or didn't happen. This is not an ideal situation for either one of them, but there is a dynamic there that I think is relevant in this instance.
I mean, we know as recently as earlier this offseason, D'Amico Ryans thinks very highly of Jimmie Ward. He said he was rehabbing and He said as long as Jimmy's on the team, he foresees a role for him, and said that he's made game-changing plays and big-time plays and big moments. And, yeah, just the relationship that those two had as coach and player, and then as head coach and player. And that is, I mean, Ward's the elder statesman on this team. He's the second oldest player on the team. He's 33. The only other guy older than him is Danico Autry. So, and Autry's been here for, half a season once he finally got done with his suspension. So Ward's been here since Danico got here. They've been together. That has to be an extra tough element that, if it was somebody else on the team that Danico didn't have as deep a history for, maybe there's the level of disappointment's a little bit different, but yeah, it is unfortunate.
Yeah. San Francisco here, everything like that. So you gotta wonder, it was already kind of a polarizing decision that they made last year with Jimmie Ward. And I asked Danico about it. You can see it in the video that I posted after the arrest. He seemed to anticipate that Jimmie Ward would have a role on this team. I do wonder how the Texans will handle this. They haven't really, there really hasn't been an issue like this that Danico has had to deal with. I can't even think of anything. I think this might be the first arrest that Danico has dealt with.
That feels right. Yeah, it feels like that's probably the first thing that's popped up like this. I mean, I know they've had some things in the past where, there was like a backup tight end that got caught in an extortion thing, and it wasn't even his fault. The officials actually like helped him catch a lady who was extorting him, and they still got rid of him because it was, bad headlines, bad press. They're a few days removed from working out Damon Arnett.
Yeah.
So
we talked about that.
And again, the Texans don't have to do anything right away. Like, their options, there's a bunch of different options for them. There's, hey, it's an offseason program. He's not coming in the building anytime soon, so we don't have to say or do anything. The NFL obviously can step in with the commissioner's exempt list at some point if they wanted to. I know Aaron's gotten a comment from the NFL offices. They're aware of it. They're going through things. That's the same thing the Texans said. We're aware. We're learning more about the situation. Like the actual do something, the Texans don't have to do anything right now. So if you're on the side of let it play out, let's see what happens, does somebody's story change or this, they have that option to do that. And if they wanted to just go ahead and say, yeah, you know what, it's bad look for us, bad headlines, sorry, Jimmie Ward, see you later, they certainly have that option as well. And I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I don't think any of us have any idea, but they're going to go through every different avenue that they can take. And again, they're not going to make a rash decision, although I'm sure some people could just see this and simply say, hey, you know what? He did this regardless of what happened. You don't really need him, move on from him. And I certainly would understand why people would think that.
Yeah, and I do think that factors into these types of things. Like there's certain things that you tolerate based on the importance of a player, and then there's certain things, and there's also I'm sure, and this is what we were talking about with Jimmie with Danico, and I don't know if the word favoritism comes to mind, but I mean, he's known him for a long time, and that was an advantage that we said Jimmie Ward had in the safety room when we were talking about the safety room, that he knows Danico very well, he knows what he wants and all that. So I mean, if this were someone that Danico maybe didn't know or didn't like as a person, and he's always talked about how much he admires Jimmie, not just as a player, as a person, then maybe it might be easier to kind of look past it. But he is only human. So, I mean, it's easy for, people in the chat or me or you or fans or anything like that to just say, well, F this guy, he did that, or he allegedly did this. But when I'm sure someone knows someone who they thought they knew very well, and maybe they did something that was just completely out of character, that's kind of the situation that Danico Ryans finds himself in right now. And we'll see how they do handle it and what goes on. But the timing of it, I don't want to say it's like good timing. There's no such thing as good timing, but you have 40 days till you really have to act. DeMeco Ryans, I mean, if this happens a day earlier, this is probably something that DeMeco Ryans is going to have to go up there and speak on. But it happened when it did, and now they get a little bit of a break and they can kind of let it play out and figure out what's going on with Jimmie Ward and how they're going to handle it.
Yeah, the legal process is not going to be a quick one. It's third-degree felony right now. If they keep those charges, continue to pursue those, like we're talking about months here. So this is not something that would get wrapped up really quick. So for let the legal process play out. Well, if they let the legal process play out, he's probably not playing. He probably gets put on an exempt list, and then his contract's done anyway. Like, I mean, the contract doesn't toll on the exempt list or whatever, but you could just say, you know what? He's another year older. He didn't play. We'll just go ahead and move on anyway. Like you create more than just this to move on from the player. And again, if they wanted to move on from him now, I'm sure some people would be totally fine with that.
Well, I mean, I think, and that's the other thing. Let's just be completely honest about this. And I mean, I would say Jimmie Ward among fans was probably at this point, one of the 5 most, I get fans were kind of frustrated with Jimmie Ward. And I would say the strong majority didn't like that contract to begin with.
Sure.
When they gave it to him, and we questioned it as well. It seemed a little bit strange. It seems a little bit weird. And our whole outlook on Jimmie Ward's role was he's a good utility guy. He's a guy that can help you. He can perhaps start. He knows what DeMeco likes, and you've already spent the money. We've always said, look, we probably wouldn't have given him the contract. They gave it to him. You've already spent it. So that was kind of the outlook. And I do kind of want to look at this, and this is hindsight, but if you look at 2 decisions that were made this offseason, there's obviously one that you question, and then there's one where you're like, well, thank God they did that from just the football POV. And the contract is the obvious, although I wouldn't even consider that hindsight because that was a weird move from the jump that we've well documented and well discussed. So that contract that people, if you're someone who was already saying it was a dumb contract, I'm sure your feelings have kind of intensified with what's gone on. But the other one is, hey, you got CJ Gardner Johnson for Kenyon Green, and it looks really, really good. If you hadn't done that, and let's say we're talking about Bullock and MJ Stewart at safety right now, and Petrie and whatever else you want to do, then that would be a problem. But so that the fact that they got CJ Gardner Johnson in that trade, it was already a pretty good job getting him for someone that you were probably going to cut in Kenyon Green, but it looks even better now. So there's kind of two ways of looking at the hindsight of this thing.
Yeah, and I mean, and perhaps they made the CJ Gardner Johnson deal with the idea that Jimmie Ward hasn't been healthy and been on the field a bunch recently. And so we're going to have an option. We're going to have an avenue to go down if that doesn't happen. And certainly if Jimmie Ward gets released from the Texans because of this, then yeah, you got CJ Gardner Johnson and you drafted Jaylen Reed. I mean, looking at the safety room without Jimmie Ward, Bullock and MJ Stewart are the guys that have been out there. CJ Gardner Johnson was there for mini camp. And then Reid is a depth piece that they had that was out there. They got another player named Russ Yeast, who was on the roster. And then Petrie, I know he's primarily played that Petrie position last year and then a lot of this time, but even a couple of times I saw him walk back to that traditional safety spot a time or two with the defense here in OTAs and mini camp. So, not the ideal spot to put Petrie. It feels like after 2023, it feels like his better spot is certainly what they did with him in 24.
You can't do that.
And plan to do him in 25, but in a pinch, you could do a lot worse, I suppose.
Yeah, you can't do that. Jaylen Reed now, he's actually looked okay in the Petrie role, but you definitely need someone backing up Petrie that's capable, because in the Kansas City game, when we saw Travis Kelce going crazy, a lot of that, Ward's absence was a part of it, obviously, because you already had Petrie out. So maybe
and this goes to how DeMeco Ryans can mix and match and adjust and change things with the defensive backs, because if he wants to put Jalen Smith on the field and MJ Stewart on the field, along with Kamari and Bullock and Derek Stingley, like, okay, in a pinch, Kamari Lassiter could bump inside, go cover a tight end while Jalen Smith's outside, or vice versa. Jalen Smith covers a slot guy while Kamari's outside. So I know this was a safety that they had added to the equation a couple of different times, but the two Jaylen Reed as a depth piece at safety, and then Jalen Smith as maybe a guy a little bit higher on the depth chart, closer to being on the field, it, again, allows him to mix and match and move things around with his secondary and play with matchups, and maybe even just straight up put guys in based on matchups too.
Yeah, and that was always the word with Jimmy. I think he was a luxury. I mean, he was an elite, versatile luxury at safety. You no longer have that, but it's not like there's massive safety depth, and we don't know what they're going to do and how they're going to handle it. It'll be interesting to observe and see what exactly they do. But the rest of the safeties, I think you still feel it's not a weak position by any stretch of the imagination. Just not as deep as it would have been if Jimmie Ward does or doesn't play. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, and if he doesn't play and they move on from him, I got to assume that there's a player that they add to the equation in the secondary, either another corner that could maybe play a little safety or just flat out another safety. If they do move on from Jimmie Ward, and if I have a hard time seeing how Jimmie Ward's on the football field this year, even if they do keep Jimmie Ward, just because the process may not play out in a quick enough manner from a legality standpoint. The process may not play out in a quick enough manner that the NFL's cool with putting him on the field. Regardless of if the Texans would be, the NFL may say, you know what, commissioner's exempt list, and then you don't have him available. So then it's okay. Well, who takes his roster spot?
On the super chat, HD AV Traveler, shout out to you,
super what?
Did I say super chat?
I thought you were going to say super something else.
Super what?
You started with a super SH.
Yeah.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Depending on what someone says, that could be the case. You never know. On the super HD AV Traveler, shout out to you.
Good to see you.
Derek Yu says, if Ward is gone for the upcoming season, it's only around a 6-game loss. He usually doesn't play more than that anyway. 10 games last year. Yeah, staying on the field. That was why it was such a weird extension. They have become accustomed to playing without Jimmie Ward, and that's been a problem for a large chunk of his 11-plus year career. So, yep, that is another way to look at it.
That's another element of like the way they operated in the offseason with their safety room is, even if they wanted Jimmie Ward to have a role, you had to account for the fact that he hadn't been healthy for 3 straight seasons. So that's why CJ Gardner-Johnson was here, and that's why they spent the draft pick on Jaylen Reed. And man, I like what Jaylen Reed can bring to the table. He dropped an interception yesterday in teams, and the whole defense let him hear about it. But he's in the position to knock the ball away. Ideally, he would have woke up this morning feeling good about an interception in practice, but
And I also wonder, and I mean, this was another question that we had. This eliminates any possibility of like CJ Gardner-Johnson not being on this team in some like crazy world. Like that's officially kind of sailed a little bit.
Yeah, if in the imaginary Cody sports book where I wagered that he wasn't going to be on the team at some point this year, it feels
with
like
high odds though. It was like 100-1.
Yeah, it's probably, I'd say it's like 200-1 now, which is still worth a sprinkle, might I add.
So the thing about the Jimmie Ward thing, and we said this before, they didn't function as if they were counting on Jimmie Ward.
Right.
So like I've seen times where D'Amico and Caserio have functioned like they're counting on a guy. And I'm like, why are y'all doing that? Like Dameon Pierce last year would be the example that I would use. Like last year, they functioned outside of kicking the tires on Cam Akers coming off the 2 torn Achilles, but they functioned as if they were depending on Dameon Pierce to be their backup running back. And it was a weird decision that they made.
And they didn't even add Akers until Joe Mixon got hurt in day one of camp.
Correct. So we've seen that. They did not do that with Jimmie Ward. They made the Gardner Johnson trade. They still drafted Jaylen Reed, and they did not. They paid Jalen Petrie, although he was going to be on the team anyways. So they didn't function like they were 100% depending on it. It was just kind of a luxury thing that they'd already paid for. So
in fact, they sort of created a situation that if they needed to get rid of Jimmie Ward, they'd been fine. And that ultimately may need to be what they do, but the way that they were able to add players to that room, if they didn't have Jimmie Ward for whatever reason, because they moved on from him in training camp or at the end of training camp, or he got hurt, they were functional without him.
Yep.
So,
and are we going to get the Jimmie Ward shot outside of the like leaving the jail? I don't think we're going to get that, right?
I would think we would have seen that already if that had happened, considering he is out on bail.
Yeah.
So if that was gonna happen, unless only one person was there and they're saving it for the nightly news, so they can say, exclusive, blah blah blah.
What was that? Exclusive.
Yeah, if you're the only news station there, you wouldn't just put it on Twitter. You'd save it for the 6 o'clock news.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, and nobody's put it on social media, so I can't imagine that anybody's gonna have that Ward leaving the jail.
Yeah, I don't think that. Yeah, that's
so no perp walk.
Yeah, so we probably won't hear about this for a while. The Texans did release a statement. They said that they're aware, and they have no further comment at this time. So there we go.
Yep.
That's what we got there.
They're aware, and the NFL weighed in. They're aware as well. The vice president of communications. We're aware of the matter, been in contact with the club. We have no further comment at this time. That's what they told Aaron when he asked him.
Yep. So we'll keep an eye on this. And
I got to think he's going to my prediction would be he's going to get released. I'm not going out on a limb here.
Yeah, it'll be eventual. And you know what really is interesting is I did a video. I'm brick factoring for when I go on vacation. I did a PFF video and Jimmie Ward got ranked. So I'm like, do I just start it over? Do I like type that Jimmie Ward got? Or will he be on the team in 2 weeks?
Just every time you talk about him, just like cut into you being like, I made this video before he did the thing.
Hey, I just said his PFF ranking and said that the luxury and D'Amico said he'd be a part of things. And then, yeah, I don't know. Might just have to redo it. It's a short one, but
situations change.
Yeah, they do change for sure. But yeah, that's a small thing to say the very least. Small things to say the least. So we'll keep an eye on the Jimmie Ward thing. Patrick, you're stupid. Landry making the video is the cause of this whole thing. Come on, man.
Bad karma because Landry worked ahead.
I'm just trying to Gucci. I'm trying to Brick Factory, get it up. So yeah. So there you go. That's the latest with Jimmie Ward. I don't really have anything else to add about it. I think we kind of covered every angle from a football perspective and personal perspective and whatever. And we'll let the process play out and see how it goes. Unless you have anything else you want to add about it.
You said Brick Factory? Who are you? Shea Gilgeous-Alexander?
No.
Got him.
I must Pandolin is mad at you for that one.
Let's see that.
Yeah. Do you want to tell your favorite Jimmie Ward story or anything? Is there any?
Nope.
Okay. You're just going to stay out of that?
Yeah, probably refrain from talking about that.
Okay.
I will say this. I was talking to somebody yesterday about Jimmie Ward, and I was like, I said something about how during the bye week, he went to like, where'd he go? Like Colombia?
He went to get his body worked on in New York.
Oh, I thought he went to like South America during the bye week.
Oh, was that it? I thought he was going up East Coast to get his body worked on. I'm not sure.
I thought he said he was going to like South America somewhere, and I was like, when he said get the body worked on, I was like, I didn't think that was this, like, exactly what he was saying. I thought it was,
Yeah.
Yeah. For anybody wondering, I'm a Spandaline giant Thunder fan.
Yeah, she's not feeling too good today. But I always thought like Jimmie was always nice in the lot, like extra nice. We cover these guys. We don't know them. We don't know them personally. Like you cover the guys. You talk about their play. You talk about your experiences. But
that's why I try to always say, like, seems like a nice guy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like
I'm not friends with these guys. They don't want to be my friend. So
yeah,
I just I interact with them. Cumulatively over the course of a season, maybe 30 minutes, and they're in the locker room. So it's not. You never know. I mean.
Yep. So there you go. D'Amico, not a good day for him, to say the very least.
Well, he probably wakes up to this, right? Like,
yeah, I got to think D'Amico probably gets up about 7.
He seems like a 6 o'clock guy. Like maybe gets up before, like right before everybody else, just to have like 30 minutes to himself. And like he gets up and, the info people for the Texans are like, hey, by the way. And he's like, son of a gun.
Yeah, that'll probably be one of the first phone calls that Jimmie makes, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure.
From prison?
Prison?
I mean, from
Are
jail.
you breaking news there? Is that all right? We have an exclusive.
No.
Cody Stutes.
No, I meant from. I thought you were saying D'Amico was his one call. I was like,
no. I mean, come on,
that's not a good use of the call.
No, I'm saying when he gets out, that's going to be. I mean, I'm sure like if he gets out like in the first 2 hours, he's gonna call D'Amico.
He's probably already called him.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's see. Aaron reported that he was out an hour ago, which means he's maybe even been out for, say, 2 hours. He's probably already talked to D'Amico.
Aaron needs to call him.
Aaron should call him.
We were at KPRC today, and me, you, Randy McElvoy, and Aaron Wilson was on, and it'll air on Sunday. So your boys are going to be on KPRC, NBC. How about that?
SNL on NBC. Wouldn't you know that?
S and L, not NL. S and L on NBC.
That's what I said. You just couldn't hear it through my accent.
Just making sure. But I told Aaron Wilson that he's a coward for not tagging the agent in this Jimmie Ward story.
Agent doesn't want anything to do
with
it.
You tagged Daniil's agent yesterday when you were talking about his contract. Why didn't you tag Jimmie Ward's agent when you were telling this one, Aaron? He's like, nah, bro.
Aaron's been all over this, man. He's making calls and sending texts before and after TV and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and this is going to be an interesting thing to see how they handle too. Because I mean, if let's be honest, if he were a Chief, he would have got a contract extension probably like 30 minutes ago. He'd be on way to sign a contract extension. I don't know. We don't know what the Texans are going to do.
Andy, if he was on the Chiefs, Andy Reid would have been his call. Like, coach, what are you doing?
And then you know what Andy would have said? I'm so fucking proud of you, man.
Oh, God.
You're officially a Chief.
Yeah, I did see some people in the comment section saying this happened to Jimmie, but Rashee Rice. Well, and look, and again, it from like what the guy did, that's good, that's bad. It doesn't affect things, but like how a team handles it sometimes, how good the player is, how bad the player is, it changes things.
No, it matters. I mean, it matters. Like, do you, I mean, just be serious about it. And I know it was a different head coach, but like if the Deshaun stuff happened to I don't want to name like some reserve nickelback or something like that, then they're not hanging around for 3 years and playing it out and seeing what goes, because there's value there. Like he'd already demanded the trade. You were gonna get that. So yeah, if Rashee Rice is the Justin Watson, do they stick by him the way that they did Rashee Rice? Like it does work that way, and then you factor in the human element that we mentioned. So
yeah, nasty situation. Whatever happened, not good, and affects obviously the Ward family, but then affects the people that Jimmie worked with and friends with and things like that. So it stinks.
On the chat, H-Town Highlights asks, the real question is, have you guys gone to Cheesecake Factory yet? We haven't.
We have not. I was just looking at the menu the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Just like and I wasn't looking at the food. I was looking at the desserts. They've got so many different cheesecakes. Like, I understand they're called the Cheesecake Factory. I know they have a legendary.
No, but it's a lot. It's a lot.
But like, they have so many different ones.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's another large ass menu. I'm actually going with the wife this week to watch the basketball game. Yard House has a crap ton of stuff. They got a lot of. Have you ever been to Yard House?
Oh yeah, I've been to Yard House a few times.
Yeah, I've gone there just to drink, but I'd never even thought about eating. But I wanted to go watch the game somewhere, and they have crap ton of stuff. A lot of healthy options too. Not sure I'm going to partake in that, but they have that too. By the way, speaking of this, if you're in Houston, I have a recommendation. You know, I've been on the Hole in the Wall tour with John McClane.
Mm-hmm.
New York Deli goes in, man. New York Deli is probably my favorite diner now. And I like Jackie's. No disrespect to Jackie's and no disrespect to Avalon. There's like 4 different types of fries. They ask you if you want it extra crispy, regular, all that. You can get your sandwich on a bagel. You can get your sandwich on regular. They got pretty much like everything that you want in a diner. I will say this, New York Deli out there, what area would we consider that?
Like Braeswood, like it's Hillcroft and Braeswood is basically where it is.
The hook.
I mean, they already have just some of the best bagels in the entire city. But we sat down and had lunch there, and it was I'd never sat down and had lunch there. It was primo, man.
Off the chain.
I mean, I'd put that Reuben I had up against, some of those, traditional sandwich places that claim they got a great Reuben. It was good.
Off the hook. All right, so Jimmie Ward arrested. What's next for the Texans? We'll see. They got 40 days till camp, and we will be all over it. Aaron's been all over it. The Chronicle's been all over it. So I'm sure that some news will drop before the night stream, which happens in about 6 hours. So subscribe, like, ride along. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.